Floor 13 doesn't exist. But someone pressed it. There's no button for floor 13 in this elevator. Someone pressed it anyway. I work nights. Building security for a 9-story office block downtown. Well, 9 according to the directory in the lobby, 12 according to the elevator panel. Because whoever designed this building, decades ago, skipped straight from 12 to 14, the way a lot of old buildings do. Superstition baked into the architecture. I never thought about it much. Every building I've worked has had the same gap. You stop noticing it. I started noticing it the week. The elevator began stopping on a floor that isn't there. My shift starts at 11 p.m. and runs until 7. Most of it is quiet, checking doors, watching 4 monitors that mostly show empty hallways, riding the elevator on my hourly walkthrough, because the stairwell door on the east side sticks, and the elevator's just faster. I know the elevator's habits the way you know an old car's habits. The slight shudder between 6 and 7, the door that closes a half-second slower than the others. The first time it happened, I had pressed 9, my usual last stop, and watched the numbers climb the way they always do. 6, 7, 8, and then, instead of 9, the display read 13. I want to be clear that this isn't a glitch I've seen before, or since on any other floor. The number simply appeared, sandwiched where nothing should exist, and the elevator slowed the way it does for an actual stop. That specific hydraulic settle you feel in your knees. And then the doors opened. The hallway beyond looked like every other floor in the building. Same beige carpet, same fluorescent hum, same fire extinguisher case, bolted to the wall at the same height. For a second, I almost stepped out on autopilot, the way you do when a door opens and your body just goes. I didn't, though. Some small, useless part of my brain did the math fast enough to stop my feet. 9 floors. Nine floors. No. 13. I hadn't pressed anything but 9. The door stayed open 11 seconds. I counted badly. The way you count when your heart's going. And then closed on their own. And the elevator continued. Uninterrupted. Straight to 9. Like I had told myself it was a control board glitch. I wrote it in the incident log as elevator malfunction. Floor display error. And didn't think much more about it, because that's the kind of thing you tell yourself at 2 a.m. when the alternative explanation is worse. It happened again 9 days later, and that time I wasn't alone in believing it. Denny, the day shift guard I overlap with for 20 minutes, at shift change, mentioned it to me unprompted one morning, in the low, almost embarrassed voice people use for things they've decided not to bring up with anyone who might think they're low. Seeing it. He said the elevator had stopped on 13 during his shift too. Except in his case, the doors had opened onto a hallway with the lights off. Every other floor in the building keeps hallway lights on 24/7 building policy. And in the dark, before the door was closed again, he said he heard something. Not a voice. He was very specific about that, like it mattered. Not a voice. Movement. Light. Particular sound of someone shifting their weight on carpet, close to the doors, like they were standing just out of the light, waiting to see what he'd do. I asked him what he did. He said he pressed the door close button until his thumb hurt. After that, we started comparing notes, the way you do when you both suspect something and neither of you wants to be the only one who believes it. We found a pattern of sorts, though pattern is generous for something this thin. It only happened late, always after midnight. Always after midnight. Always on trips where the elevator was otherwise empty. It never happened with two people inside. It never happened during the day. And this part took us longer to notice. It only happened on nights when one of us had, at some point during the shift, actually said out loud, to nobody, some version of the number, a stray comment. Man, only 9 floors, and it still takes forever. A joke about the missing 13th floor from a movie. Small, meaningless mentions, the kind you don't think twice about making. Denny had a rule by the time he told me all this, one he'd apparently been keeping to himself for weeks. Don't say the number 13 out loud in this building, ever, for any reason. I thought that was superstition dressed up as caution. I said so. He didn't argue with me. He just said, evenly, that he used to think that too. Then I told him, just I said, Done. I broke the rule exactly once, and I did it on purpose. Because I wanted to see if it actually mattered, or if Denny had just built a private ritual out of 2 coincidences. It was a Tuesday, quiet, nobody in the building but me, around 1 a.m. Riding up on my walkthrough, I said it out loud in the empty car. Just 13. Flat. Testing it. Feeling stupid even as I said it. The elevator didn't stop that night. I want that on record because it matters for what came later. Saying it didn't cause anything. Not directly. Not that time. I went home at 7 telling myself I'd disproven something. 3 nights after that, alone again, having said nothing, thought nothing, done nothing different from any other shift. The elevator stopped on 13 anyway, except this time the doors opened onto a hallway with the lights on, same as every other floor, same beige carpet. Except the fire extinguisher case on this floor was empty. Not missing. Empty. Empty. The glass door hanging open, The bracket inside bare, like something had been removed rather than never installed. Every other floor in this building has a full extinguisher behind unbroken glass. I know because checking them is part of my job. I didn't get out. I've never gotten out, but I looked longer than I meant to, and in looking, I had noticed something in the carpet near the doors. Not a stain exactly, more like the carpet had been pressed down recently and hadn't sprung back. The kind of flattening you get from something stopped, standing in one place a long time. The door was closed. The elevator continued to 9. I finished my walkthrough and didn't sleep when I got home. Anna? T. Denny quit 2 weeks after that. No notice. Just didn't show up for his Monday shift and called the office the next day to say he wasn't coming back. I only got the full story secondhand from our supervisor, who was annoyed more than concerned, and who mentioned, as an aside, not realizing what it would mean to me,
that Denny's resignation voicemail said something about not wanting to find out.
What happens on the third time? I hadn't told Denny about my extinguisher floor. I never found out if he'd hit 13 that many times himself, or if he simply believed, the way people believe things they can't quite justify, that 3 was the number, or whatever waited for you stopped just waiting. I started counting my own instances after that, and around the time I want to talk about, I was already at 2. The third time was 6 weeks later, and it was the only time I stayed on past the 11 seconds because the doors didn't close on their own. I pressed 9. Numbers climb normally to 8, then 13. Same slowdown, same settle. The doors opened on the same beige hallway. Lights on. Extinguisher case, this time neither full nor empty, but simply gone. No case at all. Just a rectangle of clean wall, where one should have been bolted. Screw holes visible. Paint slightly less fat. Ed in that shape than the wall around it, like it had been removed a long time ago. And I was only now, for the first time, it actually was underneath. Counted past 11 seconds, 20, 30. The doors stayed open. The door close button did nothing. The same dead unresponsiveness Denny must have felt. Thumb worn out against a button connected to nothing. I understood. Standing there, the 11-second window on every previous stop hadn't been a mechanical default. It had been a courtesy. Something had been closing the doors for me each time, on a schedule. And this time, the third time, nobody was closing them. I could hear the building's ordinary hum. HVAC somewhere. The specific quiet of an empty office floor at night. And underneath it, very faint, the same carpeted footstep sound Denny described, closer than his had been. Moving, I thought, not toward the doors exactly, but toward the missing extinguisher case, toward that clean, unfaded patch of wall. like it was standing in front of it, waiting for me to look at what wasn't there instead of at it. I didn't look at what wasn't there. I looked straight ahead, at the elevator's own back wall, and I pressed 9 again. And again, uselessly, the way you press a crosswalk button that's already lit. Not because you think it'll help. Doing nothing. On the 4th or 5th press, the doors closed. I gave my 2 weeks' notice the following Monday. I told my supervisor it was for a better paying job, which wasn't true, but was easier to say than the truth. I looked up the building's original blueprints once, out of the same compulsion that made me look up things I probably shouldn't have. The 1974 filing shows 12 floors. No gap, no phantom 13th, an ordinary building numbered straight through, before a renovation 11 years later relabeled the floors to skip the number, the way a lot of buildings did once superstition became a marketing concern for landlords. Nothing in the filing explains an empty floor between what's now called 12 and 14. Officially, there's no space there at all. The 12th floor ceiling should be the 14th floor's foundation. No gap, no room. I don't work there anymore. I don't know who's on the overnight shift now, or whether anyone's told them the rule Denny gave me, the one I broke exactly once and got away with that time. I think about the 3rd stop sometimes, not the doors staying open, not the footsteps, clean patch of wall, how paint fades unevenly with time, how the shape left behind tells you the exact size of the thing that used to hang there, long enough for everything around it to weather. To stay protected. I never saw what used to be in that case. I started to think the extinguisher was never the point. That whatever's up there simply wanted me looking at an empty space long enough to notice its shape, and was patient about getting me to look 3 separate times before it stopped closing. The door's for me, on its own. I don't know what happens on a 4th. I didn't stay to find out.